Hi everyone. So today, going through stumbling blocks or building blocks, which is James's series, we are going to be looking at Mark chapter 11, verses 12 to 14. On the following day, when they came from Bethany, he was hungry, that's Jesus, and seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. And he said to it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard it. So, we are going to be looking at these verses and what these verses mean. Now, in verse 12, it says that Jesus was hungry. Now, this shows his humanity. Now, in the last session, we looked at Colossians chapter 1, verses 19 to 20, and that went through that it showed his deity, so that he was fully God. And this just shows that Jesus was human as well. So it just continues to show that Jesus was completely human and completely God at the same time. So now we're going to be going through verses 13 and 14, and we're just going to plow through it, I think. So just for your information, that this is the only miracle in which Jesus cursed rather than blessed. He destroyed life rather than restoring it. And I thought that was interesting when I found that out. So back to the text, the question being is, why did Jesus curse the fig tree? And that is a very good question. Why did Jesus curse the fig tree? Now, for some context, fig trees were a common source of food, and usually figs grew with leaves at the same time. With this tree having leaves, it held out good promise that the fruit would also be there. But we also read that it was not the season for figs. So at the present time, the fig tree would have been in good soil because it had seemed to produce early, and it had leaves which, as I've said, normally would grow with the fruit. But when Jesus gets to the tree, there was nothing but leaves. So there's no fruit was produced. This fig tree is a picture of Israel at this current time. They showed promise, even looked good, as we know from the Pharisees and Sadducees. But there was no fruit. They were empty. One commentary puts it like this, and I quote, "When Jesus came to the nation of Israel, there were leaves, which speak of profession, but there was no fruit for God. There was promise without fulfillment, profession without reality." There I end the quote. So they had leaves of profession, Israel now, but they had no fruit. And this reminds us of the cries of Hosanna when Jesus entered Jerusalem. Everyone was around shouting, "Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest." But these cries would soon turn into the cries of "Crucify him, crucify him, crucify him." Jesus cursed the tree for its misleading appearance that suggested great productivity without actually providing it. It should have been full of fruit, but it was barren. The interpretation of this passage relates to the nation of Israel, but its application is to all of us today. Now, how does this passage, or how can this passage apply to us? I would suggest that you cannot just believe in Jesus and do nothing. James chapter 2, verses 18 and 19 says this, "But someone will say, 'You have faith, and I have works. Show me your faith apart from your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. You believe that God is one, you do well. Even the demons believe and shudder." A quote comes to mind as I finish, and I hope that what I have explained today does make sense. But I hope that this quote makes you stop for a while and meditate. And please do after this, you've finished with this recording. Now imagine Jesus speaking this to you. All this I did for you. What will you do for me? I'll say it again. All this I did for you. What will you do for me? God bless.